Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session where we are talking in 3I Spectra. I should congratulate everyone and to be part of this summit and discussing on a topic which is very close to my heart, which is how generative AI applications and adoption scenarios are there prevailing in current industry. Thank you, Badri. It will be very nice to get your viewpoints on how content creation or advertising market is evolving using generative AI. I think that viewpoints will be very essential for the audience to know as well. As of me, I am Debashish. I am a senior manager data science with Albertsons. I lead the experimentation platform. I have been in retail and CPG, data science, and machine learning with around 16 years now. Albertsons is a grocery and food retailer based out of US and mostly. And yeah, I'm deeply interested understanding how consumer behavior and how to leverage the insight through data, through generative AI, machine learning. That is what my knowledge area and passion is, and I always look forward to that. I think it will be very engaging session as we move on.
Sure.
To start with, as we all know, that generative AI is transforming various industries, like the ability to create unique text, images, or contents, right? And it has been said by Gartner that by 2027, 15% of new applications, that is code base or the content, basically, if you can say synthetic data, will also be created by agentic AI, like AI agents, right? And designing phase also 60 to 70% designing phase will be done by our robo colleagues, if we can say so. So how do you envision that? This question is open question for anyone if you want to take. How do you see that uh, different solution coming from various industry like healthcare, advertising, software development, or media and entertainment?
Can I go,
Sure, Surya, go ahead.
Devashish?
Go ahead,
Yeah,
sir.
two areas. I keep thinking to myself, and I'm quite fortunate. Health and wealth, right? Both are very important, and then they have similar use cases per se, right? One of the healthcare startups that I'm working on, it is to do with consolidating various patient information, right?
Mm, yeah.
Basically, this is a startup that's in India, and when you look at people, right, the healthcare delivery in India is quite a challenge because all the records are in physical form, and then although there is Ayushman Bharat, it is not uh, analyzed as well as it could have been. So there is
Yep.
a huge, we see a huge potential for generative AI to convert all these digitized documents. First of all, we have to convert the physical documents to digital documents and then extract information out of it. So with the advent of generative AI, all this is quite possible, right? And it's quite it's very, very exciting that once they are digitized, it can be in very easily consumable information, and then that information can be used for by the patients, by the doctors, by the various policyholders, etc. So the transformation potential there is just enormous. That is on the health side of the industry. On the financial side of on the fintech side of what I'm working on, our product is called InvestMates. What it does is, now that people are global citizens, they have assets across geographies. So it
Mhm.
is not consolidation of the asset in a single place. So how do you combine all of them, create a, for example, people are interested in finding out what their net worth is, how do they maximize their portfolio performance, how do they link it to their goals, right? So that is an area where we see a lot of potential, and a lot of people would be interested in pursuing it. And in order for us to do all that, generative AI is the key, right? We start with generative AI, which will interpret and consolidate all this information, number one. And then add on to this the value added services that can
Yeah.
basically reduce the cognitive load of specialists. For example, if it is in fintech, you don't need a top shot financial analyst to do 80% of the work, right? You always have a need for specialists in every discipline. But, if you can achieve, uh, 80% of the work by 20% of the effort, I mean, that is great transformation to me. And,
Got it.
we are trying to do that with both health tech and, fintech.
Got it. Yeah, that's a very, you have summed it up very well, I would say, Surya. I'll move to Badri. When Surya has brought up this important point, how do you see that some of the how are companies dealing with issues when they're building this kind of generative AI models? How they're dealing with hallucination of these AI models, and what techniques are being used to ensure an accurate AI responses are being generated?
Yeah,
And I have a follow-up question for that, but I'll start with you to answer the
yeah,
first one.
yeah. Thanks. Right. So hallucination probably is one of the most talked about limitation. I mean, there are others like plagiarism related. There is about environmental impact of the AI, all of that. But I think hallucination is probably the most talked about. I think through media and even through memes and trolls everywhere, hallucination related has been the most talked about issue. And I think from my perspective, right, I think the companies are dealing it with one of two ways. One is like a fully technical approaches, and then the other one is probably the human in the loop strategies.
Mhm.
Rather, there is probably a third one also, which is not as such a way to handle this, but more of an interim where they try to put in that uncertainty acknowledgement, right? Like, okay, this is not 100% accurate AI generated, and all of these links, citations, source transparency, all of that also they try to do so that uh, they give the responsibility on the user also, the end user also. They okay, please, I generating stuff, but you do the fact checking as well. But talking about the primary two things, right, the technical and human in the loop, right? The technical approach, I know, I think all of you are familiar with this RAG, retrieval augmented generation, where you combine the language model with the retrieval layer, which looks at a trusted data source, a trusted knowledge base, to cross verify all of the responses and try to make it more grounded, I'd say. That is probably the most common way they try to do. But even there has been risks or challenges, right? Like a RAG
Mhm.
system, it is going to look at a data source, but how trusted it is also matters. Like, for example, I think Surya, in healthcare, right, there could be RAG can go and cite something, but if that's an outdated treatment guideline, or if it is not a peer reviewed information, or if it is an information from a blog, or information that is not from any forum post, there is still a chance of even including even using RAG, there could be hallucination because the source is not 100% reliable.
Yeah.
But I think there should be ways where, like, I think companies are working around that also. Like, even the source that they are citing or the source that they are retrieving from, ranking that one and then trying to create a score of how reliable it is, how uh, uh, recent is the posts, or has there been issues with that? All of that, I think companies are trying to do. And in fact, I know people are also trying to uh, uh, build their AI models on faulty and semi-true data, just to understand, okay, is so this getting flagged in a real world scenario. So that is one of the way. Then the other are the most common, I'd say, is fine tuning the models with domain specific data, right?
Yeah.
So that to improve accuracy and tailor response to specialized use cases like fintech, like the Bloomberg GPT, for example, right, in finance or in healthcare. I know Google had this partnership with Mayo Clinic to get clinical data, train their things on reliable clinical data. I think
Yeah.
trying to fine tune the models on domain specific data is probably one of the most successful ways where they are trying to handle hallucination issues. And outside of this, I know there is this chain of thoughts prompting also, where they instead of just directly coming up with a response, the step-by-step reasoning also is a way I think companies are trying to handle hallucination. And
So
also introducing guardrails
you
on AI
brought a very
solutions.
important topic, Badri, when you are saying of this RAG model. So I would like to ask the very important question here when you brought this up is how the companies are facing what is the challenges they are facing in terms of when they are deploying generative AI at scale, let's say buy versus build, right? For a
Yeah,
company like Cantor, how do they view this? How do they take an approach based on buy versus build, let's say,
yeah,
or deploying the Gen AI models?
yeah, true. Right. So yeah, hallucination is just one of the limitations, right? But there are quite a few challenges outside of hallucination. Also, like the challenge when it comes to, I think, data quality. Like your RAG is also based on your RAG, or even personalized models. All of that depends on good quality and reliable, trusted data. But our data quality, fragmented data sitting in silos, all of that are problems. And I know people, before jumping on to the AI bandwagon, I think companies are realizing that, okay, we need to first build the basement or the foundation in place, which is improve our data quality, build unified data layers and data lakes, and launching more data quality improvement initiatives is something I think companies who are trying to build or even buy and deploy also, their data needs to be in place. The foundation needs to be built. Data quality is one limitation. Then privacy and security is another limitation. The risk of
Yeah.
exposing your sensitive data, especially like healthcare, finance, wealth, insurance, or even in legal areas where there is risk. uh, Anonymizing it, encryption are ways to do, or but there are also ways like using private and on-prem models, but there are limitations again with that doing things on prem will have its own limitations. Is going to be expensive, latency issues would be there.
Got it.
And
Yeah. No, these are very important
then
points to keep
talking
in mind, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And then
You were
just
sharing
quickly,
something, Badri.
another thing I think talking about privacy also is right, like the ethical and regulatory, the inherent bias, like concerns about bias and fairness. Those are also challenges. I don't know if you've come across this book. There is this book called Invisible Women. So it's a very good book. It talks about how data bias is there in the world designed for
Yeah.
men. Like most of the data, right? It's for male centric. That it creates a lot of inherent bias, and it shows like how bias can creep in even from the data collection, the models that you're doing. All of that is based on a data that is probably already biased towards men. I
Got it.
think that bias is also a concern that companies are dealing with. I mean, they need to run regular fairness and bias audits, but that is going to be intensive. Sorry.
Yeah. No, those are very pertinent points, Badri, I feel. So Rahul, if I just want your thoughts on this, forwarding this point, like how do we ensure that ethical use of Gen AI is there in sensitive domains, let's say, and what is the role of regulation you think plays in terms of adoption of Gen AI technologies? What are your views on that?
Yeah, so I think that first and foremost, AI implementations and whatever we are seeing in the industry, and at least I am pretty conversant with the insurance part of it, we see that there is the governance part is a little bit missing in terms of, in the entire implementation standpoint. So basically, there are a lot of frameworks, as we know. Maybe 6 months back, we had a framework called the EU Act, if you remember, and then there was a CARE Act and all this, right? Those are actually providing some amount of governance to the, when we adopt generative AI as a tool for doing any implementations per se, right? That is number one. Number two, I think that when we talk about ethical use of AI, as Badri mentioned, that there can be a lot of bias and there can be a lot of hallucinations within the data, etc. So, and that creates noise, and probably that will not fetch get the right result as we are expecting for. So in that case, probably what we need to do is provide some guardrails around it, right? The guardrails can be anything where there has to be specific human intervention there, right, which can really make sure that there is less bias and there may be less hallucinations, to take it forward. The third, I think, the most important thing, which is really affecting, and I think this is pertinent to you are saying about healthcare and education, right? So healthcare, I think the patient data, etc., are like very, very critical. I mean, there is no question about divulging those PII, as we call PII data, etc., which are very sensitive data. So I think we have to really make sure that it is protected, right? So that is one part of it. And maybe in education, I'm not very sure about education, but I think in education also maybe the way teachers and the way students interact, the data of those interactions should be also kept private. The privacy part of it really should be should be stressed upon. So I think overall, I think so if you really keep these 3 points in mind in terms of hallucinations, reducing hallucinations and bias, also keeping proper guardrails in process, etc., then I think probably we can use AI more ethically.
Yeah, right. So Surya, I would like to know your thoughts when we are in this conference of fintech innovation through generative AI, power of generative AI, right? How investments is harnessing that agentic AI shift, or like making it more hyper personalized for financial experience for your customers. So what are your steps been taken, if you can enlighten us?
Yeah. I will keep it really brief, but look at our organization is a small startup, right? So what happens with all the startups is they come with nimbleness that is required, technical nimbleness that is required. So we can afford to iterate, experiment, run experiments any way we want. Right? Try it out, try with, for example, Badri was mentioning about domain-specific models, fine-tuning, and RAG, right, in order to reduce the hallucination, right? We are also trying the agentic AI pieces, right? Mm-hmm. That means it's not just ragging the application, riding on the rag of the application, but also create a workflow where the necessary information is obtained and delivered to the customer with both information retrieval as well as probabilistic, creation using transformer models, right? That's what LLMs are all about. Yeah. So this kind of gives us a fantastic leverage of using agentic AI to hyper-personalize the in situ kind of a situation for a customer at that point of view, at that point of time, right? For example, I'll just give a small example. For example, all my assets are consolidated, and then I have stocks, bonds, ETFs, you name it, financial, real estate, blah, 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 right? And then my goal is to retire in 5 years, right? So, and I am either my situation is I am very young young professional, or I can be a late professional with experience. So the kind of plan that is evolved is it has to be in situ, and then depending on my own risk appetite, right? There are a lot of factors which cannot be programmatically handled, right? That is when the agentic AI will come in very handy in order to hyper personalize a financial plan for me, right?
Mhm.
So this is a great example. And the second thing, in our investmates, what we have is that we have a bot where we continuously roll out new features in the bot itself, and these are not apparent to the user, right? Only when they keep using it, they will see, oh my God, yeah, this is what is happening. They're all very transparent to the user. Let me differentiate, give you a small example, and then I will stop the hyper personalization piece of it, right? I have my brokerage account with a big firm in the US, right? And then when I go to the chatbot, I'm not saying they're not working on it. I'm just saying how it is working right this minute, right?
Mhm.
It kind of gives me a menu of what I wanted to select, and then it is like an IVR within the chatbot where I navigate, and eventually it says, "Hey, do you want to talk to our customer service representative?" And most of the time, I go to the customer service representative, right?
Yeah.
And in when you compare that with what we do, what we are trying to do in investmates is our agent. See, we don't have a huge customer support backbone, right? So we have to completely automate it, and then we have our freemium members are a lot more than premium members, right? So I have to completely take the cognitive manual work out of you know our
Yeah, to
operation,
elevate,
and then move
yeah,
it
to
to
elevate the user experience, I believe.
we do a
Yeah,
lot of lot of agentic AI
yeah,
within our auto kind of a thing, right? And the second
yeah,
thing about the adoption, right? Adoption is since we are not in an enterprise, I cannot talk about adoption at the enterprise scale. But what I see from our team sees from the adoption characteristics, right? Whenever we roll out a new feature, generative AI feature, for example, there is a small button saying, "Hey, this is your invitation to check your score and balance your portfolio," right?
got
That
it.
is a feature we roll out. And then when we see the traction for that feature, of course, we do A/B testing as to what will work. But then the number of clicks that we are getting on the button is indicative of user interest.
Yeah,
And within our strategy team, it indirectly implies that generative AI is a technology which is transformational in its real sense, saying people can viscerally feel it, right? And they get the
yeah.
tangible results out. And that is phenomenal learning for me,
So
working
when
on.
you say this, Surya, about this experimentation thing, uh, I think one question pops up, like how generative AI is replacing traditional experimentation workflows. So what, Badri and what Rahul, you feel in those lines about how this AI is replacing the traditional experimentation with more autonomous runs and learn. So both your thoughts are welcome. What do you think? Whoever wants to go first.
So I think that probably with this, a lot of AI experiments are definitely happening for sure. And now what we are seeing is kind of workflows are kindly getting modified. Basically, what's happening is as we see the composable architecture for for agentic AI, where small bots like there are For example, in insurance, I can say that for example, there is claim processing, right? So claim processing is done by many people, just not by one person, right? But then if we have 5 or 6 different bots doing the same work, and then it converges to get the claim processing done, then it's faster and much more easier, right? So that's what we are seeing. So basically, most of the companies right now, the bigger companies across the world, they are trying to really move into that kind of a pattern where all small and autonomous jobs will be done, and there will be exchange of information between the bots, and that way the architecture is getting built, and it is actually cost efficient, and it is also getting a lot of traction in the market now. Is what we are seeing, Devashish.
Thank you, Rahul. So before we close, some of the closing thoughts from all your side, I can go around the room one more time. So I would just like to add is that when we are doing this composable agent architecture, I think it can independently developed and deployed into and orchestrated into specific tasks. And like if I say in experimentation is like creating a synthetic data that can be artificially generated, it can be real time, and the model can be used in different sandbox environment, right, for hypothesis testing. So this gives us a lot of leverage when we are doing a lot of A/B testing and scaling it up. Let's say Bayesian inference. So this scaling up capabilities when we bring in these agents, which set up of their own and can be orchestrated, I think this is a very as a plus point in our field now. I would like to get some closing thoughts from each of you on how your industry is evolving, how consulting, fintech, or healthcare is evolving using Gen AI uh, advancement and scenarios of development, right? Yeah.
Okay. This may be just a little bit off because it triggered my train of thought, right? So when we talk about one of the aspects I really want to bring forward is in the agentic, LLM models, reasoning has been very, very critical, right? There is a lot of progress which is made in the reasoning engines, right? Which could potentially replace or act in lieu of chain of thought reasoning, various reasoning models that we have, and then we should be able to dynamically turn it on, turn it off, kind of a thing, and put the human thresholds. All this which is happening on the reasoning piece of the LLMs is quite intriguing, exciting, and inspiring,
Fascinating.
right? Added to this, I really have benefited from Nometron model that
Yes.
earlier, which I have struggled earlier in my life, right? Particularly dealing with synthetic data of imbalanced data sets, etc.
Yes.
Right? For they are used for anti-money laundering activities, as
Yeah.
well as writing our a code for fraud detection, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
so this kind of the ability of LLMs to basically create synthetic data is amazing. And I just wanted to close my thought saying that we are I don't know. I would say we are extremely lucky to be living in this age, but I'm not sure. I cannot predict tomorrow because of the speed at which we are progressing. But this is for youngsters, for people, practitioners. This is an incredibly exciting time.
Very well put, Surya. Rahul, your closing thoughts.
Yeah, so I would really put it very briefly and quickly that what I am seeing in the Gen AI adoption across at least healthcare and insurance is that we are talking about vertical AI, as in we are getting deeply into insurance. We are just not talking about open AI and open chats, because those are not of much use to us in that sense. So we are talking about very specific insurance related information or healthcare related things. So we are talking about vertical AI more and more, actually. The second thing which I would like to see, which I'm seeing in kind of, so what we are also telling clients probably is that very soon you may see that there is kind of a agent marketplace, as we see the marketplace in Amazon, etc., which has evolved for last 5-10 years. Now it is time for Gen AI to really get that thing, folded under the Gen AI umbrella, where we'll have more agents and there will be a lot of interactions, buying, selling, etc., going on. So I think these are the two things where I would like to close my thoughts on this Gen AI adoption.
Thank you, Rahul. Badri, your final points.
Yeah. So in the context of the marketing world where I'm coming from, right? I know the AI, Gen AI, traditional AI, and then now Gen AI, it has evolved rapidly, and we've seen that it has started to deliver measurable value. Earlier, the ROI part has been like, there has been a lot of investments and push, but I think we've started seeing measurable value, and the time to explore, adapt, the time is now. And whether it is content automation or personalization or experimentation, campaign testing, all of that, I think things are evolving so much. And think to build a more agile marketing strategy in this AI era is probably more easier than ever before. That's
Thank
my
you, Badri.
opinion. Yeah, thank you.
And last but not the least, I would like to thank 3AI for creating this Spectra event 2025. I think it's a good platform for people to come and share their thoughts, their vision, and how they are progressing in their respective industries, and how different development is happening in different industry. And that is a good stage for every other people to learn. Thank you so much. It was a good, nice session. Surya, Badri, and Rahul. Nice talking to you.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you, Debashish,
Yeah,
for
thanks. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.